Welcome back to Essen 2017. I'm here with Rob Daviau, and this is another big year for you.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I'll say that. Like I told my kids last year, I'm like, this is as big as it gets. So come with me to Gen Con. And then I walked in this year, I'm like, oh, I had another good year. So I'm freaking out a little.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, you have a new company. So
yeah, I got 2 jobs now. I make original games, and then I'm Chief Restoration Officer. I love the title for restoration games. So I spend about 5 days a week on restoration games and 5 days a week on my original designs. So
that math doesn't add up.
Yeah, that's why I look so tired.
So with that, obviously you've had 3 really good games: Indulgence and Downforce, and
you'll get it.
I will get it. Stop Thief, the one that I requested the most. And how was it like to take these old games and then twist them around and put on a modern touch?
It was like going home in a way, because it's what I did at Hasbro for 14 years. They would give me a game like Risk or Clue or Life and say either put a license on it or modernize it or make it a card game. So taking something that you know either works well or had worked well in the past is maybe out of date is a very comfortable place for me to be, and I really enjoy doing it. And with restoration, since we've got just thousands and thousands of games to choose from, if we can find one that, like if we find one that doesn't work right away, like we can just move on to something else, you know, and either come back to it or never come back to it. So it's fun. I'm up to my eyeballs in Fireball Island right now.
Yeah, I know that Fireball Island announcement at Gen Con even took Tom by surprise.
That was Justin. Justin did a good job. He's like, we're going to surprise Tom. I'm like, I don't know if Tom likes surprises. It's like, we're going to do it anyway. I'm like, okay. And he seemed to like this one. So it was good. Yeah, I mean, we got to make this thing be as big and as fun as people remember, which is interesting because if you look at it now with adult eyes, the marbles don't roll that fast and it's not that tall. But in everyone's mind, it's like 3 feet tall and the marbles went close to the speed of sound. And so we're not trying to get to that level, but to try to recreate some of the memories people had in childhood, and it's been fun. So it's like making this wonderful toy with all these different islands and trays and marbles and things like that.
Do you have any other games on the slate or games that you couldn't announce yet that you're doing with them?
For restoration, we've been teasing it's likely that we're going to do a Downforce expansion, 2 new tracks and some new powers and some tracks that have like new twists to them, not just new squares, but something new about them. That's about all we've announced for now. So
now, another game that I've been playing recently, I played a lot of this one, folks, is Mountains of Madness.
Mountains of Madness out today. I was just at the yellow booth. Seems to be selling well. I'm delighted by that because it's a little bit different. It's a Cthulhu game where I say, wouldn't it be more interesting if the players went a little crazy, not the characters? Because usually you're moving a madness cube up or you're getting a card, but I wanted the players to do it, so I kind of called it a strategic party game at one point, and that feels to be like where it lives.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, we were playing it at a store and I was like, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 yes. And people were looking at me like I was insane.
There you go, you're welcome. Yeah, for those of you who don't know it, it's basically a communication game. You have 30 seconds to, as a group, decide which cards you're going to play to solve a challenge. It's very simple. Like you might need 8, I'll just use regular suits, but they're different in the game. Like we need 8 spades and 6 hearts. But the 30-second timer really freaks people out, even when there's no madness cards. Then you start getting madness cards, and you had the one where you can only answer yes or no. And then someone else might only talk to the person on the right, and someone else might be holding their cards over their head. And suddenly, this very simple thing of who's going to play which cards becomes very complicated to figure out. And there's some other surprises in there. It's not a legacy game, but there's things the first time you play, you'll be taken a little by surprise and have to roll with. So,
yeah, I mean, this is... I've seen other games like this in the past, but very few. But really, you have to keep your eyes closed while you say stuff, or you have to, be turned around, or you have to only say yes and no. And it really makes it hard to do this, and you feel like you're really getting more and more mad as they get more and more difficult.
Yeah, it came from me trying to be a project manager for a game. I had finished designing it, and the publisher said, hey, can you help project management and get a prototype done and get it ready to show? Turns out I'm a horrible, horrible, horrible project manager. And I was trying to get all these disparate people to work together, and then there was people who all spoke English as a second language, but were all over the world with different cultures and different first languages. And I would say, right, so we're going to do X, Y, Z. And then 3 days later, I would get ABW. And I would think, how did we do this? We all agreed on something, and then that's not what happened. And that was the beginning of the idea of what if people just have to agree on a very simple thing, but with all these, constraints. That in our case, it was cultural differences, timing differences, language differences. And so that sort of became the idea. And I just got a deck of cards from 1 to 5 and started working on it. And I had these wonderful interns at NYU where I was teaching who came up with the idea of the sand timer. And so thank you, because that turned the game from a good idea to a great game. So.
Yeah, because not only are you insane, but you're rushing to do everything.
Yeah, and I've seen some funny things that happen with it, like married couples or couples in general are always a danger because they get done and all of a sudden like the timer stops and people have played the wrong cards, which is part of the game, and they just are like, I told you to play at 3, and all you're like, no, like don't bring a fight into this, And some people are very cool and calculated, and some people, it's this little lesson in management style or anything else. And Yellow did an amazing job with the art and the pieces and everything. Like I handed them this thing that was like, well, here's this nice thing, and then I got it back and I'm like, whoa. And they did a nice polish on the development, cleaned up some rough rules, so super happy with how they took that.
Yes, this is a game where I know conventions, it's going to be a big convention kind of game because it just fits that whole environment.
It does. It's like one of those things that tries to draw people to a table. It's something I picked up at Hasbro. We used to call it a toyetic quality, which is not a real word, but it's used, which is how fun does it look to play or watch? And Hasbro is big on that. It needs to have plastics like Pie Face, a game they have, is just a toy with a lose state. So that you can take it to that extreme. But I'm usually trying to think of what's this going to be like walking by or to explain to people. So, yeah, I mean, some games are really, they're all games to make good take a lot of effort. Sometimes they're just slow building. This one just sort of dropped in nearly complete in the course of like a couple days. And there was just a lot of time to get everything balanced.
So now let's talk about this other little game that you're working, is coming out here.
Trying to think. I should know this, shouldn't I?
Yeah, it's just a little game. It's a legacy game.
Oh, yes. I assume you're talking about Pandemic Legacy Season 2.
I wasn't actually. But no, of course I was.
No, I'm like crazy happy with the early reviews on that because when Matt and I turned it over a year ago, Gen Con, so Gen Con 2016, we both said, yeah, we think this is better than Season 1, but it's not as new, it's not as fresh, people have played it. I don't know if people will think the same thing, and some of the early reviews have been, it's as good as or better, or at least certainly different, which is what we wanted. We didn't want you to play like, hey, play 16 to 18 games of Pandemic, and then we're going to ask you to do basically the same thing again, because that's a lot of games of the same core engine. So we changed the base game to be a cousin of Pandemic, and then started working from there. And we basically said, what if you already lost? What if the world, you're not trying to save the world's done. You're just this little candle, and everything else is dark. And your whole goal is to try to get more and more light back in the world. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And what I like, there's more choices in terms of how you approach the game. And if you're focusing on winning, which we hope you do, you're not going to have time to do everything or see everything or fix everything. And so everyone will have a very different experience at the end. I was talking to Tom last night in the bar, and I'm like, did you find this? He's like, I didn't see this. I didn't see that. So, just stuff tucked away.
Well, we all know that Tom lost, so...
We were talking about it, and Matt and I never want you to go into the last game and be like, well, no matter what you do, we're going to win to make you feel good, right? You legitimately have to have a chance to lose. You get 2 chances in December to finish the game. Usually, the first time you play, you get enough data to figure out what you did wrong so you can approach the second one with a strategy. We were talking about, he got this real edge case of he didn't get as much information because X happened and Y happened, and then and he even said, I got lazy and I didn't do X, so therefore Y happened, so therefore I didn't get information Z, so therefore we're behind. And he knew, he was disappointed, but he could kind of see where he had made a choice that had snowballed on him.
I've been teasing everyone about this, but if he had that fourth player in there...
Oh yeah, I mean, that's really it. Is I think the lack of that fourth player and the knowledge and wisdom that you would bring to it entirely turned the tide there. Yeah, and we designed that in.
So this one, obviously not spoiling, but the way season 1 was at the end, it felt like that last scenario in December, you could play it again and again even after the game was over. But this one, I guess, has a more finite end.
It's a little tricky to play the last version of this again and again. We really ask you to do a lot of different things, so it would be hard to even go back and say, like, oh, I want to replay it, because it's like, are you playing January or April or September or December? Because the game does a lot more changes along the way.
Yeah, I heard it's more, from what I've heard, since I haven't played it, is it's much more free-form than... There's still obviously a main storyline, but it's more freeform of when things happen as opposed to something happening on the line.
Yeah, I can talk about it, and it's like this marginal spoiler. It's what you will see when you open the game and start playing, which is the world has been reduced down to a few coastal cities around the Atlantic and Mediterranean, and North America, South America, Europe, they're largely like gone. But you can see on the board what you need to do to sort of recon them and find them again. And you can do North America first, or you can do South America first. You can maybe do Europe first. There's some that, like, right when you look at it, like the Middle East, I think you look at it and you're like, oh, we actually can't do that first because we don't have the things. But you can kind of discover things in sort of any order, and when you discover things in an order, you'll get different rules and different pieces of information so that the game will be sort of different in how you do it and what you get to and what you don't.
Yeah, I think it makes it more interesting in regards to you can play this again and play it very differently. While season 1 was kind of more linear, this one you could play multiple times and kind of go in different directions.
Yeah, it will. It verges more in the middle, although it comes back to basically the same ending. There still is sort of a plot that drives you through, but what you do along the way can be quite different in this one. But it's not like you're going to get to the end and you'll have 4 or 5 different Decembers based on what you do. But yeah, the worlds will look a lot different in season 2 compared to season 1, even though those looked different between mild spoilers here. Which disease got out of control, how you handled it, the tools you use, those sorts of things. People's worlds look different, but this one's even a little bit more so.
No, it sounds great. I mean, I'm looking forward to playing this. I'm assuming I'm going to get a group soon and then hopefully win.
Yeah. Just play with 2 players. It's easier with 2. That's just the nature of pandemic. I mean, we look at it every time, and 2 is easier than 3, than easier than 4, which you wouldn't think would be the case because you have half as many powers, but the way the cards work and stuff like that, it's like probably 10 to 15% easier with 2 players than 4 players, which adds up over all those games.
So I guess the key question, now that you're already in the selling point of season 2, is season 3. Where are you guys with that?
I want to keep it on season 2 right now. With this will be a trilogy, but today is the birthday of season 2, so we can talk about season 3 in 2018.
It's a trilogy. A quadrilogy or just a trilogy?
Just a trilogy. That I can tell you.
After this, are you going to be, I guess, legacy? You've done a lot of legacy games. Are you going to get more into traditional design again, or are you going to try more legacy things?
I've got 3 or 4 more that are underway that I'm working on that'll roll out over the next couple years. But I'm moving to more traditional, or at least different things, just because the legacy games take a long time to make, and I'd rather leave the party a little too early than too late. I'd rather have people asking for more than people like, really, that thing again? You're doing that? You're still doing that? Like, we've moved on from that. So I want to be in a place, I'd love to in a couple years, where we're like, hey, can you do another one? We kind of miss them, and then I will. rather than the other way. And I miss the idea of doing a simple card game or a little dexterity game or something like Mountains of Madness, like a strategic party game. I just want to make sure that I don't just do the same thing again and again and start repeating myself. Like, people are like, oh yeah, it's just like the other one, he didn't have any new ideas.
No, I mean, I think, each one you come up with new ideas and it's great.
I try, but they're fun. I like doing them because they're D&D adventures in a board game form. So I've always been a DM since 1981, and lets me do it in a different way.
So for those of you budding legacy designers out there, if you were ever a DM, it'll be a good experience into becoming a legacy designer.
Yeah, you just be a DM, read a lot of comic books, watch a lot of TV, play a lot of board games. That's it, the usual. Work for about 10 or 12 years for a large game company to learn how production and manufacturing works.
Exactly. No. In all seriousness, though, congratulations. I know it's going to be a success, and I think it's selling well so far.
Yeah, I'm going right up to do some promotion for it right after this, and seems to be going well. I mean, there's lines at the Asmodee booth, but I don't know what they're buying, and it's so strange to be done something in like July of one year and then wait till October of the next year to get any feedback. Games in general are such delayed feedback. Like, you do a movie or a play or a song, and you usually can get feedback right away. Maybe a movie is similar to this, where you have to wait a long time. So when those early reviews coming in and people are like, I like it, it's a worthy success, I was like, oh, didn't realize I'd been sitting for 15 months of, did I do a good job? Did we do this? So yeah, it feels good.
No, well, congratulations, and we look forward to the next thing.
I look forward to talking about the next thing.
Well, thank you, and this is Rob Daviau, and we're here at Essen 2017, and we'll be back with more from the Dice Tower.